I haven't given a talk in church for 24 years. So this is the first time I've got up and actually done public speaking of any kind besides presentations for school. So I don't know if that's a privilege for you guys or not. Thank you, Melissa, for that introduction. I'm so honored to be here today, and actually listening to the panel, I almost feel a little bit unworthy to be up here. Sorry. But I am truly honored to be here. I love this program so much. And I took a very non-traditional route through my accounting school, and so I'm going to give you some background, and you can kind of see the path I took and the options that you have getting your degree in accounting. As Melissa mentioned, I was 15 years old and I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. I was told at the time that if you're going to get cancer, this is the best kind of cancer to have. There's a 95% cure rate and little to no side effects. But as you can see, I'm like the anomaly of the statistic, and everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. When I was 19, I was in my third semester at BYU. I couldn't breathe. I had a really hard time, and so I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, your trachea is the size of a coffee stirring straw. And he's like, I don't know how you're still alive. So that was when I had my first tracheotomy, but I only had it for a month. So I dropped out of school, and I figured I'm just going to take care of my health. I'll go back as soon as I have that taken care of. So for the next several years, I had so many surgeries, I couldn't even tell you how many I had. They tried to correct the problem, and when you have radiated tissue, nothing you do can ever fix the problem. During this time, I met my husband, and he was really supportive. I felt bad that he was marrying a lemon, but he's only told me once that I'm a lemon, so I guess that's good. We dated for 2 years. During that time, he asked me to marry him several times, and I kept saying no. And I really did say maybe to him when he finally asked me again. We had to wait until he got hired on at a police department so that we could get health insurance for me. And after we were married for 6 months, and after 6 months I had another surgery. And a few days later, I ended up in the emergency room because I wasn't able to breathe. And the doctor said to me, if we don't give you a tracheotomy tonight, you're gonna die. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And at the time, I didn't think it was going to be permanent, but it was. I had my emergency trach on Friday, and I spent the next 6 weeks in ICU because when they gave me my trach, they also nicked my carotid artery. And since my artery had radiation, the little stitch that he put in didn't hold. And so, one day it just burst, and I was bleeding out everywhere. And I was rushed to the operating room, and every time they tried to clamp the artery, it just disintegrated. And they ended up cutting my chest open and just taking my carotid artery out. When I woke up from that surgery, I was on a ventilator, and the doctor said, tell your husband you love him. And so I, gave him this, and the doctor said, no, I want you to speak it because we want to make sure you didn't have a stroke. So, I don't know if I should admit this, but I will. I flipped my doctor off, closed my door to visitors, and I spent the next 6 weeks just reflecting on life and what I wanted to do. During that 6 weeks, my husband was called at least twice, saying, hey, she's not going to make it through the night, you need to quit, you need to leave your job and come see her. But he wouldn't let me quit. He made me fight for everything. He and my best friend were like, no, that's not going to happen. This is just, you've got to fight. We'd only been married 6 months, and he said, I'm not going to live my life without you. Bless his heart. Over the next year, we met with a lot of doctors. We flew across the country. We got second and third opinions. But the doctor finally said to us, you have radiated tissue, so nothing we can do is ever going to make you better. So they said, your life now, you're going to have a tracheotomy, and you need to adjust to that. I gave myself a week, maybe more, to mourn about it. And to be honest, I did a lot of retail therapy, a lot of crying, and just learning to live with this new shift in my life. My husband told me I had a choice to make. I could either choose to be happy and deal with my new normal, or I could choose to be sad and I could let it dictate my life. And I'm fairly certain I flipped him off as well. But I hate it when he's right. A few months later, I watched Shawshank Redemption. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's about a man who was falsely accused of murdering his wife and sentenced to life in prison. He gets out of solitary confinement, he finds his friend, and he says, "It comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living or get busy dying." And as soon as I heard those words, I was like, okay. I couldn't think of anything that was more profound in my life at that time than that sentence right there. So I sat down and I made a list of goals for myself, and I was determined to accomplish a family, a degree, a career I loved, and traveling, letting things go and being happy. It was 7 years before I was finally able to go back to school. I was pregnant with my second child. My husband was transferred into the undercover narcotics division, and he was always gone. He was working 60, 70 hours a week. But I felt very strongly that I needed to quit my job and go back to school. So I started in summer of 2008, and my daughter was 2 months old, and I planned all my classes around her feeding schedule. Whoever talked about the breast pumping in school, awesome. But I planned all my classes around her sleeping schedule, her feeding schedule. My parents live just 5 minutes away, so they were great. They watched my kids, and they bring them down when I needed to. I had decided to do finance as my major. I felt that I wasn't sure that accounting was a route that I wanted to go. I didn't want to be pigeonholed. I didn't want to be limited to what I could do. But when I took Accounting 200, I loved it. I think I finished the program that Norm did in a month and a half maybe, because I just really enjoyed accounting. Towards the end of the winter semester, I was invited to a forum to promote women in the School of Accountancy. I spoke to Melissa, and she's like, "You should just go and listen and see what they have to say." So my husband and I postponed a trip to Disneyland so that I could attend it. And I listened to the women who got up and spoke, but nobody really said anything that really made me say, this is what I want to do. So I talked to Dr. Stocks and Professor Budd after the forum, and I was so encouraged by the support that they had for women in the program. Dr. Stocks pointed out that accounting was a language of business, and with a degree in accounting, I could be more versatile than if I just got a degree in finance. If I had majored in finance, I'd have a hard time doing accounting, but as an accounting, you could also do finance as well. So I had a lot to think about on my drive to Disneyland, and I weighed all the pros and the cons, and I just wasn't sure if I could make it work. Being a mom with 2 kids and a husband who works 60, 70 hours a week, I just didn't know if I could do it. But by the time I got to Disneyland, I thought, you know what, the benefits far outweigh any cons. And so I'd made up my mind, as long as I had my parents and my husband on my side, I was going to do the program. I applied to both the business school and the accounting program. I got accepted into both, but I decided that accounting was where I needed to be. I never second-guessed my choice, and I don't think I ever worried about the workload of the program. What I was worried about was group work, because anyone who knows me knows I don't play well with others. And it was confirmed when I took the DISC test during the junior core. It honestly said this: Nolan needs to stay in her own sandbox and not play with others' toys. My group members were like, I don't know if I want to work with you. But those group members became my support system. The accounting program is set up to make sure that no one fails. The accounting staff, your group members, everyone is there cheering you on and supporting you. As far as the workload goes, I've said this several times, my husband works 60 to 70 hours a week, and he would take off all the time. He would call up and he'd say, so, I'm going to Albuquerque. I'll be home when I'm home. Okay. And so all of a sudden my support was gone. He would watch my kids in the morning and he was gone. So he went, I'm sure, to Mexico or New Mexico, Las Vegas, Denver, Reno, anywhere you can imagine in the West Coast. He was there. I know that he loved his job, and I know that he supported me absolutely. But I did have my support system in place during the accounting program, and I learned how to rely on my group members and my parents, and I also learned how to trust in the Lord. I made a decision early on in life in the program that my children were always going to be my first priority. Getting a 10 on a quiz was not worth sacrificing my time with my children. I knew where I was supposed to be, and I knew if I put in the time and the effort that I wouldn't fail. I'd pick up my kids from my parents' house, and I'd go home, and I left school at school. I'd make dinner with them, I'd spend time with them, whether it was reading books, going to the park, whatever. And there were times where I was like, I have so much work to do. There's no way that I'm going to get this all done. But I knew that I would never sacrifice my time with my kids for a 10 on a quiz. There were times where I would sit there and I'd just be so overwhelmed. I'd say, how am I going to do this? But I had my priorities straight. And I would sit there and I would study what it felt for hours. And I'd look up and it would only been 2 hours that had passed. I don't cry, sorry. It was almost as if time had stood still in order to allow me to get my work done and to take my quiz and to get to bed at a decent hour. It was a very, very humbling experience, and I don't know that I could have done it without the Lord's help. As far as working with the groups go, as some of you know, I did not enjoy working with my group members at times. But I made connections with several group members, as well as other accounting students, and I learned so much from them. I learned patience, humility, empathy, and how to work well with others. We had meaningful discussions about everything and anything, and getting 5 different perspectives on one aspect is really eye-opening. I learned that I'm not always right, and I don't like that. I fully admit to playing devil's advocate during many of those discussions. When you're in your mid-30s going back to school with a bunch of 22-year-olds, you like to play with them a little bit. Come on now. But during those discussions, we really learned about each other. We learned how to support each other, and I really did learn how to play well with others. We learned how to support each other. We championed each other when one got a good score, and we commiserated with those when they didn't get a good test score. The group became my family away from my family. I think the common perception in the accounting program is that it's too intense. After that, there aren't any jobs in the accounting profession that are conducive to being a mom. As for me, I entered in the accounting program knowing that I would never work for a Big Four company. My family is in Orem, my husband's job is in Orem, and I didn't want to commute to Salt Lake and be away from my kids. I started looking at a local CPA firm to do my internship, but I knew that the odds were stacked against me. With my husband's job, I just couldn't put in the same hours. And I was also 4 months pregnant when I started my internship. I found a local firm that would work with me. But between the pregnancy and then my husband's job, I just couldn't put in the same hours. I didn't know what to do, but that decision was made for me when I didn't get offered the job at the public accounting firm. So I started looking elsewhere. But at the time, my husband was out of the narcotics, but he was in sex crimes and homicide. And it is Utah County, but he was always gone. And he went to more dead bodies than I can even think of. And I got thinking, if it comes down to getting my taxes filed or a dead body, the dead body will always win out. So I went and talked to Melissa again, and she said, have a plan, but be flexible. And so I decided to steer away from public accounting, and I just knew that something would come up. I thought, I'm where I need to be, something will come up. A couple months before graduation, the savior of my group from the junior corps on asked me if I wanted to work as a controller for his company. And I said, sure. I had several job interviews lined up, but I said, I'll go interview just for you because you've done so much for me. The location of it happened to be 2 minutes away from my kids' elementary school, 5 minutes away from my parents, and my parents would watch my kids. And I thought, I don't think I can get anything more perfect than this. It was a small company, and I knew that I was kind of limiting myself as far as like money and advancing went. But I thought being next to my kids far outweighs anything, that far outweighed like the money aspect of it. When I went to my boss, when I was interviewed, I said, I'm a mom first, and that's always going to be my priority. I said, I'm not going to be here before 9. I'm not going to stay late if I don't need to, and I will always leave if they need me. But when I'm here, you have me 100%. He eyed me a little skeptically, but he hired me anyway. I worked hard to prove myself, and during the last 3 years, he's given me more of his duties so that as he expands the business, his time is needed elsewhere. So we currently have 10 companies under this parent group, and I do financial aspects for everything. I won't say that balancing work and life has been easy, but I have always been upfront with my boss about my expectations, and he's always been upfront about his expectations of me. He's also been my biggest champion. I am the only female professional in my office. It's when you have 4 alpha owners and an alpha controller, it gets interesting. But he always makes sure that my voice is heard. But for those of you who know me and get to know me, that's not really an issue. I work long hours when I need to, and I work less hours when I don't. It's not the path that I had envisioned for myself, but it's a path that works for me. In preparation for tonight, I emailed several of the women that I graduated with, who were all single or married at the time with no children. And I said, now that you've had kids, how are you transitioning? And so I'm going to read some of what they've said to me. Rachel says, I'd been recruited by PwC in Washington, D.C., and I enjoyed my experience but didn't love it. I accepted my offer with them right before the last year of the MAC. My husband had already graduated BYU and was looking for the FBI, but the process was taking too long. We realized that our plans were no longer the right plans. My husband took a job in North Dakota in the oil field industry and moved to a town built for 1,800 but housed 10,000. When I got pregnant right after we moved, I decided to stay home full-time. A couple of years later, the CFO asked my husband about his family, and my husband mentioned that I had my MAC degree from BYU. I was offered a job on the spot, no interview needed, to work full or part-time from my home. I now work 20 hours a week from my home office. I pick my hours and how much I work, and I have no set schedule. I am doing financial reporting for a few subsidiaries of the main company. I work around my daughter's schedule. I sometimes sacrifice my sleep in order to get it done, but it's all worth it. Oil and gas accounting has definitely challenged me in many ways, and it has pulled my knowledge from all those financial accounting classes. But I really enjoy what I am doing much more than I ever thought I would. So Heavenly Father puts us in a better place than we can imagine. Haley says, I graduated with my bachelor's in accounting and then went to beauty school. Even though I went a completely different direction, I still would not have changed the path there because the accounting program taught me how to really work hard. My experience put me ahead of my peers because I was driven and I knew what I had to do in order to accomplish my goals. For me, having a solid understanding of business has greatly enhanced my ability to do hair because I am in an industry of people who often don't know business. I am always making sure that I have enough money, that I'm making enough money to cover all my costs. Getting such a versatile degree like accounting really is great for anyone because you can use it in so many different ways. Even though I'm not doing journal entries or debits and credits, I was always able to gain more critical thinking and able to better problem solve. Crystal works for PwC, and she is in a new division called the Flexible Talent Network. It's something new that you're seeing with PwC, and it's allowing women to work entirely from home. She sets her own hours as well as the maximum hours she works each week, and she only works 6 months a year. She says more big four firms are realizing that they're losing valuable talent, but with top-rated women leaving to become moms. And it wouldn't surprise her if more opportunities like this became available in the near future. She handles the family budget and does all the books for her husband's business. She loves the comfort of knowing that if anything happens to her husband, she would not be left helpless. It has happened to many women in her ward, and it has given her peace of mind and helped her sleep better at night on more than one occasion. Caitlin spent 2 years at KPMG before leaving to be at home with her daughter. All the firms have opportunities for flexible work life, but it isn't really advertised. It's something you have to go look for. You have to find them and make them happen. She's been thinking about doing KPMG's seasonal audit, working 20 to 40 hours a week, 3 months out of the year. She's also thinking about getting her teaching certificate so she can go teach high school, accounting in high school. And she says the greatest thing about accounting, there are so many options for part-time work whenever you want it. So there's so many different paths you can take with an accounting degree. I took definitely a non-traditional route, but your path is what you make it. It can be traditional, it can be non-traditional, but it's your path. You have to trust yourself and figure out what you really want. Trust in the Lord to guide you. In my opinion, accounting is one of the most useful and versatile degrees out there. In my husband's line of work, I never know if he's going to come home at night. I know that I hold a degree that if anything happens to him, I have a degree that I know I can take care of my family. I was told several times, only once, by these several people, that I should stick to a degree that's more conducive to being a mom. But I can honestly say there's no other degree out there that is better for a mom. And not just financially either. I am able to do so much more for our family because of my degree. I do our taxes, I do our financial planning, I do all of our finances. But more importantly, I'm teaching my daughters to do the same thing. I'm teaching them how to save, I'm teaching them how to plan, and I'm also teaching them how to fight for what they want. The confidence I have in myself from going through this program is so invaluable. And I feel like it's made me a better mother to my children because they see that confidence and they want to emulate that. They are learning to be confident in themselves, and it's so important for young girls. They're 10 and 7. I didn't share my sob story to make anyone feel sorry for me. While I've been through a lot, I know that there's a lot of people out there who've been through so much more. I share this story with you because I want to show that it doesn't matter your circumstances. If you want to go through the accounting program, you fight for it and you do it. I fought to be in this program because I knew it was a path I was supposed to. Although I listened to opposition along the way, I put my trust in the Lord to guide me through this program. I fought my way through and came out on the other side with so many opportunities and blessings. If you want to be in this program, do it. Pray and listen and trust the Lord to guide you through. If this is a path you are prompted to go down, know that you will be blessed in so many ways you never thought imaginable. Opportunities will come your way. They're out there and you have to find them. They may not fall in your lap, but they're there. Don't let any perceived intensity of the program keep you out of this program. I am forever grateful for my group members and professors. I don't know how many times I was in Professor Bud's office in tears. But my group members, professors, other students, and my family absolutely supported me 100% through this program. I am so incredibly happy with my career choice, and I would absolutely do the program again to get where I am today. I won't stand here and tell you it's easy, but it's absolutely been worth it. I hope I've been able to convey my passion for this program. I hope those of you who are thinking about doing the program do it. And for those of you who are in the program who are worried about flexible job opportunities, they're out there. I'm truly honored to be a graduate of this program, and I've learned so much about myself by being a member of this program. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, meet up with me later. I'm happy to tell you more about the program and what I went through. But that's it. Thanks for letting me be part of this tonight.